2020 is essentially just as important because they'll try and take it away, whether it has to do with religion. Our evangelicals are here tonight, and they're all over the place. And what we've done for them and for religion is so important. You know, the other side, I don't think they're big believers. They're not big believers in religion, that I can tell you. You listen to some of them. They're trying to put out little statements. They're not working too well. Those statements are a little bit sort of not too good, huh? What is the word we want to use here? A little... Now.
Mr. Lewandowski, I'm going to put a slide up, and it's the words that President Trump dictated to you on July 19. Can you read what you wrote down?
I'm happy to have you read it, Congressman.
Well, why don't you want to read it, Mr. Lewandowski?
I think you should afford me the same privilege you afforded Director Mueller.
Would you like to read it?
No, you're welcome to read it.
Are you ashamed of the words that you wrote down?
President Swalwell, I'm very happy of what I've written, but you're welcome to read it if you'd like.
Are you ashamed to read it out loud?
I'm not ashamed of anything in my life, Congressman, are you?
I mean, look, it's an ugly exchange. What were you trying to accomplish with that question, Congressman?
It was interesting. We asked him to read, what the president asked him to deliver to Sessions, which was, to end the Russia investigation. So he didn't ever deliver that message, which I think shows that he knew it was wrong. And the fact that he wasn't even willing to read it out loud, that he, was hesitant to do that, showed again that he knew it was wrong and he wasn't proud of what his role was there, and he had a little bit of shame for it. And to me, that goes to a consciousness of guilt, that this was a corrupt act. We're trying to show the American people corrupt intent by the president, and I think that was Exhibit A.
So are you concerned, though, that moment where, you're trying to get him to read something that's already in the report and he won't read it? I mean, are you worried that maybe you look bad, too? I mean, we already knew what it was. It's in the report.
Yeah, you're trying to bring the report, to life, because the report is a lengthy document and most Americans just, understandably don't have time to read it. But then I look, Aaron, at what's the opposite of what I did? Doing nothing and not having these hearings, and the president's behavior gets worse, and future presidents have a lower standard of conduct. So, there's no good, solutions here. And I would say the president, credit to him, he is winning the short game. He is successfully obstructing and confusing the American people. But there is going to be a cascade of court opinions against him, saying that the obstruction, telling witnesses not to testify, is unlawful. And that's going to come soon. And there's going to be a reckoning. And the American people are not going to be too happy when he continues to defy those court orders.
Mr. Lewandowski, your behavior in this hearing room has been completely unacceptable. And it is part of a pattern by a White House desperate for the American people not to hear the truth. I have been asked several times today whether the committee will hold you in contempt. That is certainly under consideration. But there is a far more troubling level of contempt on display here today, and that is President Trump's role in your refusal to answer questions. The pattern of obstruction laid out in the Mueller report has not stopped. You showed the American public in real time that the Trump administration will do anything and everything in its power to obstruct the work of the Congress. The president's lawyers are sitting behind you right now to make sure that you do not answer us. Well, this committee is focused on the evidence of potential corruption, obstruction, and abuse of power. And exposing that misconduct is our top priority. Make no mistake, we will hold President Trump accountable.
On a parliamentary inquiry.
The gentleman will state his parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, did you have that little speech prepared before this hearing went downhill?
It is not a proper parliamentary inquiry, and the answer is no.
Ever since he was a young boy in Texas, Sean Pleasance had promise. A valedictorian in high school, he got into Harvard but chose Yale, majoring in economics. Wall Street beckoned, then came his own business.
I own all of my decisions and choices, good and the bad.
Today, he is homeless, living on the streets of Los Angeles.
It means it can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody. No one is. It's not someone else's problem. It's a problem we all could face.
Amid squabbles with his co-founders, the income dried up, and then he lost his rock, his mother, and the problems got worse. He is one of 60,000 homeless in the county of Los Angeles.
You'll find musicians, you'll find, there's the photographer over there. The problem is with the cost of housing.
They all live in a small tent city in LA's Koreatown neighborhood, dwarfed by gentrification that has taken over the area. A quarter of the nation's homeless now live in California. from LA's Skid Row to the streets of San Francisco. Drug needles litter the sidewalks, and crews are routinely dispatched to clean up human waste, mere blocks away from some of the biggest tech companies in the world.
What they are doing to our beautiful California is a disgrace to our country.
President Trump may be on the verge of a major crackdown. According to the Washington Post, he is considering a directive to have the tents swept up, with the homeless moved to an unused government building. Critics point out that such an action would not only be illegal, but counterproductive.
The idea that we're going to force people into a facility that's probably located in a very remote area is not a solution.
Mike Dickerson co-founded a homeless advocacy group. He says a better solution for Trump would be figuring out how to build more affordable housing and providing better services, whether it's mental health or connecting people to jobs.
Often it is not framed as an issue of compassion, of trying to get people housed, but more of an issue of we need to get these tents off the street.
How would it strike you if all this stuff was just kind of removed, you folks were taken to some other place?
Then I would leave that other place immediately.
Sean, 52 years old and married to another homeless man, doesn't want to be confined by the rules of a shelter.
You just stretch your body?
Exactly.
This is where you sleep.
He has both a laptop and a cell phone. He's been occupying this space in Koreatown for 6 years and has been homeless for a decade. He admits to being a regular meth user, but spending just a few hours with Sean, he still possesses that intellectual curiosity that took him to the Ivy League.
I would prefer to be somewhere where I can still go to the library when I want to and go there and do the things I need to do.
But then there's the reality of life on the streets.
Every time you sleep, that's when you lose. That's when people come and take your things. I'm a heavy sleeper. I lose a lot.
Well, I spoke to Sean Pleasant's family. They have repeatedly tried to help him over the years, but he has rebuffed those efforts. Just shows you what a complicated situation this can be for both the homeless and their families. Now, John, in terms of federal officials intervening, what state officials will tell you is that they welcome those efforts. They welcome resources, but simply cracking down and not adding more housing, they say, is not a tenable solution.